better? No. What about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that air that will be kind of like hello in the language. Navajo originally from Arizona, which is near Flagstaff, and Flagstaff is about hour and a half north of Phoenix. So that's where I was on and Navajo homeland. We try to say homeland versus reservation. So that's a change that we've done. And Navajo with our it means the people. So in our own language, we're the name. And that's why I changed the name back to the name. So but I'll use it back and forth because I'm going to use the same language. So my client is applying one for this energy. So in our culture, it's our mother's plan that we take the side of, and all our kids are also with that same plan. So it's kind of like it is who we identify ourselves with that plan. So it also controls who you can marry, or it's a tradition for us not to marry our own clan brother or sister. So it's kind of like a system that's built to make sure that there's some marriages within the clan system or the family. And we have an extended family, so all our mothers, sisters, or our mothers and our grandmothers, sisters, or our grandmothers. So we'll have lots of brothers and sisters, lots of uncles, lots of fathers. That's how we identify ourselves. So I learned reading at a young age, and being brought up with sheep from my grandmother's side, and we had our sheep in with my grandmother's flock. So for us, that was just a way of life for me and all my brothers and sisters. We helped with the shearing. Springtime come, we would have sheep, the shearing, the feeding, herding sheep during the summer when we're on school break, and help with that. So it's just a way of life for me, and that's how we went on up. And so all from elementary to a kid, so I saw my mom reading, and that's what this chair is that. That's what did that I did. The kids did, and I got a degree because my mom encouraged education because she would go to school. So she told us that don't be like me, for it. Somebody has to interpret for you, go to school for yourself. And that's how we got from school, we got a degree. And after I was able to get a degree and support myself from my career, which is teaching, I could then use the reading as an art. So it took me a different direction where I could actually achieve it communication. Since 1911 to now, I've been experimenting and taking me places, and it was through experimentation is where I'm at right now, and it took me to this place. But it's basically the same tools that our grandmothers use, our ancestors use. The room is basically the same. The tools are the same. The only difference is the material that we can get from Home Depot and then the luxury natural dyes, commercial dyes on the internet. So that's the only difference. Everything else, as far as the technique, is the same. Okay. And here's my mom and my grandmother. And that's her weaving. That's my grandmother's design that she's been holding. And this was in the 70s. So it was shown that weaving. And as a the traditional way of learning for us was by watching. But we were never told to sit down today, you're going to learn how to do this. It was just all watching, and the kids could play with it. So that's my grandson playing with the loom, the comb. And they can see, they see us weaving. So then they can see that what we're doing. And it was the same with singing, gardening, and it's the same thing. Like I would wake up to beating of the baton, that sound. So here, it's the same thing that you expose the kids or the fetus to use it the same way that we did with the cone, the leading cone. So there you see the child sitting with the mom, and the room is basically the same. The only difference is the luxury of the 2x4s, 2x6s, the water pipes. And this is just showing all the different tribes and Navajo reservations up in the corner where it says Apache County. That's where the reservation on the homeland is. And on Flagstaff is right where Coconino is on this left side. Just to give you an idea of where it's right. And at the beginning, there's the whole history of the blankets. And for me, I see all the different styles and the history of our people. And the story goes that our people learned Navajo even from spider woman. And that's a story that has been passed down within our traditional elders. Those are the stories. But there was a time that I wanted to know if that was true. So I asked, and then when I was in school, I mean, you hear stories just from your immediate family. So when I went to school, I read stories in the books. So we learned reading from the whole field of the purple. So, and Helen was an anthropologist, and she was pretty good with textiles. So one day I asked her, so why is it that the stories that are written in the history books by anthropologists say that we learn, or people learn from Hopi's, so the purple? And then, my grandmother gives me a different story, and then she said, well, what if the Spider Woman was a purple? So that's what she left it at. So I didn't thought of that, but that was just way her. Instead of telling me that what it could be, she just asked a question. So I always share that story because you hear something different from the elders, but when you go into the academic world, it's something different. So that's what I was brought up with, and that's one thing that I was like to share. So for me, the blankets tell us the story of our people, the history of our people, because at the beginning, go ahead and change it. And at the beginning, welcome back to the designs were very simple, just the stripes. So if you go through the wearing blankets, I call them wearing blankets, even though they were called blankets, and I refer to them as wearing blankets. Because with our people, there's no such thing as chief. We have not ani, which would be like a president or a councilman. So I call them wearing blankets. So the first phase is kind of real simple, just stripes. Second phase, the blocks are introduced. The third phase gets more complicated. So to me, that's the history of our people. If they really wanted to comfort, they could start simple and make it more complex. And then after this, you get more of the surroundings where they could slip them for it to be worn as a poncho or blanket. Then we go through the Germantown. The reason why they were called Germantown is because the yarn that used to be manufactured or made in Germantown, Pennsylvania, and they were, I think, 3 or 4 pounds, and that's what our people use, and that's where the items came out. So looking at the history, that's the history of our people. Right now, we have a lot of regional different tribes that originate from the different places of the reservation, and that's what that map shows. And then there's yeah, see all the different styles. And each region, the styles were promoted by people that owned trading posts or stores on the homeland. So if you look at Ganado, which is kind of like in the middle here, it's right up there. So that's third style is with the geometric shapes with the red background. But if you do the history of these styles, you can learn a lot from them. And all the stores that were on the reservation had 130s, and all those were up about 10, 15 years ago. So those are no longer there. The only one that's there is probably the model, which is Hubble's trading post, and Hubble was their original owner and it was passed on to the family, and I think now it's owned by U.S. Park Ranger or something like that. But they made it that historic site. So those are just the rooms that were promoted and I guess introduced by the people that had training us to those shops. And one of them is the storm time. It was the Navajo, red, and the second group is then white rooms, the plant backyard, then Pine Springs and white rooms. So some of those places, all these are places on the reservation, and their communities where the weavers created these designs that were promoted by the traders. Because it was for trade instead, for tourists to buy. Two Gray Hills is the more famous one, where you use the natural wool for the gray, brown, different shades of browns and other fine. Then this one is influenced by the Persian rugs, so it's called Renaissance near the Four Corners. So you see different shapes, different styles that were created. And then you get a lot of these pictorial rugs that people weave as well. So the bottom right is the tree of life, the chain dancers, show good dancers during the winter and the days, the female dancers, and then the pictorial one. So weavers make all different styles. And then Bert Waters plays in the model. And the New Lands was created because the people near to the city, they could pull my mesa with these two colors to design. And those people got relocated to near Gallup, a place called Newlands. And those Newlanders, the people that moved to Newland created that technique, using the bird bottle colors. So that's how that one came about. And that was probably created in the late 1980s or 90s. So all this is just, they're going back to the people. And growing up, I guess there's something happening about that. Okay, growing up, I heard about the sheep that they used to say, my grandmother and aunt used to talk about, I hear that there's a time that you could spin wool without carding it. Then I think of that in the 1960s when I was a child. And that was the story that they used to tell. So going through school, I remember that. And then later on, when I became an adult in the 80s, the Navajo School Project came out late 70s. And there was this Navajo project. They introduced the truth back to our people. And this is the plot that we got for our people. So it's that making full circle of that fantasy, making story that became true in my life. So I could spin it on a spinning wheel back then. And then the left side is the Navajo symbol. So I take it, I spin the warp, go ahead. Then I can get I have my special beads on it and help me because I couldn't go all the way across the room, so I just put it down the other side, over the whole back together. So the warp. So that's setting up. Then the rooms, and I have many different size rooms. basically that original picture, but it's rectangular shape. And there's my house. So I can see the San Francisco peaks from where I was brought up. So I use a lot of the plants, the dyes between blue and black stuff. You collect the plants to dye the wood. So that's what that's from. And then I can use walnuts, and a lot of times I'll get them from other places too. But then our people also had the Navajo package dyes, the Christian dyes. And we still have those, and I think we don't have gold packages now. But initially, that's how they came, and they made it from the trading post. And you can see the Indian head on there probably to, to show, promote the dyes. And then one year I had a project where they wanted a certain red, and I took this pot that's on the left side. And my mom used to say, yeah, so you can take dye and make red, but I could never figure out how to get the red. The people that wanted a certain deep red. I bought that old red pen from an antique store. I tried all the stainless steel pots because that's what you read that you're supposed to use. And then I did aluminum, all the different pots that you could think of. And I thought, well, they have pots and pans out on the reds, like any can containers, whatever. So I bought the red, and when the water settled and dried, it rusted. So I think that was the trick, was that it doesn't have to be pure metal. So back then, if they didn't have FDH to check your pots, that worked. That's why it worked. So there's just the different plants that I use, but I do a lot of my dyeing for all of the project. And I'm variegated both indigo and the regular yarn, and use chemical dyes, sometimes chemical dyes. But I've got my name in my all the different yarns. The left side is a natural channel. And this is just showing that all the different colors I can get, and all the, when I design, each thread has its own color. So I could have 50, 60 grams for the cost, depending on the design. And these are my earlier pieces, it's going through. So the left side is a storm pattern, and the right side is mini rugs and one. So that one has 14 rugs. All the little patches that I've opened, sitting at it, we can have one time straight up. And I don't remember. The same idea, green is hard to get, but I can take different shades of yellow, any shade of yellow, overdye with indigo to get different shades of green. Because the most common color that you can get from plants is yellow. You can't ever get straight green, so I use overdye. And then through my weaving classes, this one I have, the one that's on at the bottom, it was a demo piece for my class showing stripes, verticals, and diagonals. And one time I kept this one because it doesn't have symmetry. I just put in figures. So from there, it led to the next one up. I thought, well, what will it look like when it's coming to a point asymmetry? So that was like, took about 3 to 5 years to do that. So then I go to these and got to this. Years later, I made it firm. So taking those patches of weaves and then creating it back into those shapes. But I wove them upside down. Because I wanted the point to be a point. Yes.
So when you're doing this, the community of people around you, people, how do they react to the asymmetry?
Well, I know that one person told me when I was doing what was I make? What did I make? It was some reading, and he was the former owner of the trading post on the rail. And then his response, his thing was that, why are you changing Navajo? So to me, it was coming from a trader that wanted to sell the traditional and stay traditional. Whereas for me, I'm coming from the experimentation. What can I do with it? What can I do with that space that I'm confined to? Thinking outside the box. So for me, it was not about reading traditional style. What can I do to make it different or challenge myself? What can I do different on the next piece? That's the approach that I've always taken. Because I already know how I can do traditional readings. Why do that same thing over and over? I can experiment. And that's always been my approach. What can I do differently? What will that frame do? What's the rule going to do? That's always the approach that I'm taking. So doing the asymmetry and taking the variegated yarn, this all was started with because I learned how to do variegated yarn. I thought the variegated yarn would be the background to landscape, like if you go to and you see the petroglyphs. That's how this came about. And with my culture, my grandmother, my mom, and everybody else would tell you, do not go to ruins, don't touch the petroglyphs, don't touch the pottery shards or anything else. But I broke those traditions. So now I'm weaving cocoa pellets and Navajo rug. And my late husband is also the contributor and influencer in with all my pieces. I learned about his culture as well as mine. So I was combining those two cultures. So then I took the traditional third phase, broke it up into 3 panels. Like they're woven on 2 different looms. The middle panel, it's 3 pieces, it's not 1 piece. The middle panel I wove on 1 loom, the other 2 panels I did it on a separate loom, so I wove all the way across, going straight between the 2 looms. So it looks straight across. And I finished it straight up. Then it could be displayed that way, or this way, moving them. Then this is another wearing way. Same idea. Was thinking of the panels. What is it going to look like when I put it together here? What is the front part going to be like? What do I want to show? So that's what I do. I did a lot of multi blankets, which is the stripes of indigo and black, because a multi blanket, that's what a multi blanket is. So I used a lot of that only because I gravitated to the indigo and then I have the new piece on. So then I created this, going from the dark blue all the way down to white and white. That gradation. But I had to do the yarns, tie the yarns that way to get that. Then this was the first time that I ever added metallic thread. If fashion changes, why can't wearing blankets change with times? So that is why I added the metallic thread to it. And the indigo up at the top where the crosses are, to the center, it gets lighter, but it gets darker when you go follow your own. So I included that in there. Just different variations, and then lots of metallic, even in the crosses and the L's, which is part of that cross, representing the four directions. And I didn't want it to have symmetry, but it turned out that it looked like an arrowhead pointed up. Because with fashion, I wanted the top to be up at the top, the railings, and then the orange with the triangle pointing up rather than coming up. Okay. So then I worked with another artist. When I taught a lot of classes, and I think I met her at Omega. And she was an artist herself, so her and she commissioned me like 4 to 5 pieces, but I was able to do 4. And these were her designs, but they were about 4 feet by 4 feet, and they came out really nice because they were simple but really striking. Yeah, just all solid colors. That's another one too. Then this is the one that I said I had to get that deep red, and the trick was the pot, distilled water, and this is the ratio of the cochineal to the pounds of the moon had to be just right to get the deep red. So I had to keep experimenting and finding out it 5 years later after that time. Then I have done circle ones. Just to see what I can, see if I can do it. And I do it. If other people can do it, then I do it. And I was able to do it. Then I was working with, rather than just color, then I went into this shape. So this is an old technique, the wedge weave. And I had a frame built for this. See the wavy line? So I had to go find an iron worker. Drew the design. I said, "Can you make this for me?" He said, "Yeah, I can do it." Then comes back about a week later with these rocks that were wavy. Okay, what can I do? And that's what I came out of it. So when I used the wedge weave technique, I didn't know what it was going to do. This was more a stone. And then so, okay, let me pick it up. And then when I took it off, it was bubbly. So it became a 3-dimensional wedge weave. So it's funky, it doesn't like that. See from the side. So then I started playing around with the colors, and that became seasons, wedge weave. Fire on the left, the right became the fire. Has lots of movement. Another one, fall spring, because of the colors. And these end up being commission work. So you can see how they go up. Then from there I went to tubular. So then I thought, well, if I can make a 3D laying flat, why can I try tubular? So then I got 2 more rings, the same size, and my caregivers found it for me because they were going to shop, one of those home stores. They said, "See if you can find me 2 metal rings." They brought it back and they were not the same size. So then I had to go find a welder again, set up on Facebook or somewhere, found him. Say, "Can you make these the same size?" Say, "Yeah, I can do it." So I let them look at them, came back with exact same size. Then I measured the diameter of those rings, and then it was only, I don't remember, 18 inches or something, 18.5 in diameter. But then the warp was like 60 inches. So, oh my gosh, you have to get even though I'm a math teacher, to get the circumference was I have to make it that wide. So I did the thing and went around it, connected it, and then wove the wedge weave. So my thought at the time that I was doing it, I thought the wedge weave would make me go at an angle the way that it did on all my other frames. But this one, it just went flat. Why? Okay, I'll just work with it and do it. So then I just made the beginning, all the natural colors, then the browns, greens for the middle, top, blues, some blues in the middle. So then I thought of the gold. So if we touch the ground, that's the natural, the dirt, whatever. Seasons, the year, and then with the sky and water. So that became then I put it on a tubular base that it will turn. That way, as you can't see the whole thing, the leader, just a little angle. I did put on a tubular turn. Then in the meantime, on the side, I was working with other collectors. So give me some mini wedges. Do what you want. Let's experiment. So then he would tell me his colors and everything. So only 6 were here, but we have all different ones. Okay, so this is just an idea of my weaving. This one I'm working on right now, the left side, and it's giving you a close-up of my work. So every area that I have a string, a tail, and I'm interlocking. Those are not crossed. So sometimes I'll double it because the string is too narrow. So that's where I double my string. So they're the same thickness. And that's just showing how I work. So those are my moves. So I started this project on this one, the beginning, but that wooden frame kept getting out of shape, like in this way or that way. So then I thought, well, I need to get my metal frame out. So I put it on my metal moon. So now it has a better tension and I can sit at it straight. So then how this all started with the next part is like, I'm here chickweeding. If it weren't for Intel, I don't think I would be wearing that because Intel was the first one that commissioned me to do the internship in 1994. So that was at the third market, and I agreed to do it. And then in 2017, Candace with Hopkins, she's a curator. She took them to document in Germany, in Europe. And then when I first wove them, I just agreed to do it. No idea what a chip looks like. So when I got the photo, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? This is impossible to read. I can do it. But I couldn't back out of it. I couldn't do it. So I looked at the photo and started. Then I asked my mom, I said, do you know how to do the raised outline with dipping vertical or your hook? Because she does it diagonally. But I asked her to see how to do it straight up, like vertical lines. She said, no, she didn't know how to do it. So, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? She doesn't know. I don't know anybody. But then I just kept experimenting with it and finally figured it out. So, okay, I can do it. So the colors were not the problem, it was the technique. So I just looked at the photo, cut it into halves, 4s, 8s, 16s, 32nd, down to 64s. I grew it just on the photo. I didn't do anything else. So I didn't measure my work and did the same thing with my work on paper. I just did it. If my work is 64, half is 32, and I did the same thing. So the numbers match. I just write the numbers down, right on the photo, and on paper for my work. But I didn't really worry too much about the width because this looks like I have. So then I just approached her and said, okay, I'm just gonna do the important things that pop out to me. You know, the rest I'm not gonna worry about because there's too much detail. I'll just use parts. So that's how it came out. So then Ken, who I met on the internet about a year ago, did this for as he saw this exhibit, the rug at MoMA. He said, oh, that looks familiar, but the only thing is backwards. So he identified all the parts. So that's how I was able that's where I got this whole. Then he called me and so I'll tell you more about it. So then the next time that there was a commission piece came out over in Kansas, that was, Bruce Hartman in 1994. So this commission was commissioned in 94. The left side is the photo. So you can see my marks. This is the rug. It's only a partial piece because you can't, when you enlarge it, it doesn't work proportionately. So part of it is cut out, but that's the photo. That's the rug. Yeah. And then I've done chips with other designs, an old one because that reminds me of a gold crowbar and nice bracelet. Yeah. And then I got introduced to stock market imageries. I did a residency and yeah, and I developed that.
Be like a graph?
What?
What was it, the graph like for earnings or something?
Yeah, it was, I got it from the person that I was working with the image and I moved it. Yeah. And then I did, this one was, I wanted to do a QR code, so I had, I was asked to do the show in Norway. So, well, if you can give me a QR code, I'll do the show. Provide me a QR code. So I said, do QR code for a Google searches Native American Arts Organization.
Oh.
So I did the circuit board background and put that on top of that, and it works.
Does
So, so now it's thousands of. Then the stock market, a larger one again for Norway in 2021. And then this is my latest one that's been getting recognition. I wove it in 2024. This is the Fairchild Industries Circuit board chip. I guess back in the 60s, there was a plant on the Navajo homeland near Chippewa. And the Navajo women and men would put computer chips together. And this is out of that, to pay tribute to those workers. So we had a part in the putting the chips together for Fairchild. And I didn't know that this is all through history. So I took Navajo churro and then did the indigo dyes with commercial foods just to make it stand out, and then wires in the chip. Then I put abstract spiders to represent spider women, and these pads here are supposed to be by included Navajo designs, and up at the top, those symbols represent AI to show where we're at in technology today. So that has been gained recognition. So that one went to the Dutchman Family Collection in New York. So it's been getting requests, so it's out there a lot. So that was what I'm doing when I'm working on it. All the strings, and then halfway I took it to the market because it wasn't done, it wasn't for sale, just for show. So then the next part that I did was the one for Side Santa Fe, exhibition in Santa Fe, and that ended this past January. And it was the same idea, incorporating metallic threads represent silver and copper threads represent copper. And that came out really nice. It's all silver, metallic, and it really stands out if there's a little bit of hidden. But it takes a lot more work because the metallic thread slows me down. Because I have to get tangled up. It's okay if I'm sitting and weaving at it, but as soon as I get up and return, the whole thing will get tangled back and I have to go back. Kind of like reorganize and start again. So then from there, I've got these, like I said, I wouldn't be throwing that as different for Intel. And taking a different route with weaving with where it's never been done with technology and the circuit board, computer chip. rather than just doing traditional weeklies, but through my experimentation, I was able to get this far with it. So, New Humans is another one that I have a piece opening up in a couple of weeks. So I'll be there in about 2 weeks. Then on April 10th, Motherboards is opening up in San Jose, so my internship will be there. And then I didn't put that down. The Tingley Museum in Basel, Switzerland. That's the project that you saw that I'm working on. So I have a deadline of May the 10th, which is coming right around the corner. And then I have another exhibition, which is a photo exhibition opening up on June 27th at Art College's Castle Museum of Photo. So that one is titled Replica of the Chip that we technology. So hopefully I can see some of you do it. So these are you guys are getting a preview, but so we did. So this one I did finish in January, and this one it went to a gallery in Tucson, and then it's part of the Native Voices exhibition right now. And it's another chip, so I need to consult with Ken to see which is the right way. So I need to consult with him. And then this one is opened up at New Museum, the one on the right. So it's the one that I'm doing for Basel is the same design. The only thing is that this person that wanted it, and then New Museum had a short deadline, but they kept extending it. That I made it out of real fine yarn, and the person wanted to buy something that you could afford, so I made it smaller. So a lot of these pieces get sold before I even finish them. So that's going to New Museum for the exhibition.
Where's the New Museum?
In New York City. And I get it. So that's my story.
So do you ever, you spend a lot of time, obviously, on a piece. Is it ever difficult to just let it go?
Well, at this point, I mean, they're gone before I even started. But this one was very special because I really love the colors, and then the way that it looks is up at the top. It's that gradation, it's just abstract reading. So I don't do too many of those anymore since the first two pieces. And going back through the chip designs themselves, I was able to meet Ken introduced me to one of his friends who takes photographs of those chips that he magnified so many times. So right now, I got them free from them until they discovered that they don't mind me using it because Antoine allows me to use them. So he gave those, share with us what you've done out of that shit. So that's what I mean. I need to share these with him so he can tell me which is the right way and the wrong way. Then I need to know more about the green parts, the gold parts, and the top part to see what the functions of those parts of the chip are. So I can talk a little bit more intelligently about it. Because right now, I just see it as a computer photo with no other information other than that. Yes.
Since you're so distant from like what you said was your basic Navajo, beginning, and then you really branched out, tremendously. Do people want to watch you and do you allow people to watch you do this type of stuff? Because it's just so different instead of the block, geometric patterns. It's so
well, I think I just go by, I think for me, I don't mind people watching me, but it's just that, it's just to me the basic reading, because you're just changing the shape. The only part that's different is the designing part. But the other part that adds a lot more work to this is the colors. You have to get the right color combination and the right technique to get those effects that are in the chip. If I didn't add the metallic thread to that, to what I'm doing now, it would just be flat. The metallic threads adds another dimension. So I think that's what makes it different. You know, I guess coming from an artist, is you're always wanting to try something different. And that's still the approach that I'm taking now. What can I do different? Yeah, I'm doing a mirror chip, which has really taken off. And so what's next for me? I don't know. Like, this is the top of the top. I mean, that's where, you know, you try, what else can I do differently? Beyond the chip now. I don't know.
Very,
Yeah.
so, if,
Go ahead.
given the popularity of, you have people that are working with you now, that are helping you guys,
That's what I've been approached by, a gallery owner, several of them. I turned two down, and right now I'm just like in the middle of my one. But it's very, for me personally, my touch is I'm not going to be the same as the other touch. So that's where I come from. And I like the idea where I can do my own my own preparation of the yarn. I have a hard time giving, I guess, dedicating a job to somebody. Because I was a single person weaving the whole time. I know people have been, but it's something that I want. So all those come into play. So that's a difficult one that I'm trying to deal with and trying to figure out. Because we can still take over.
You gotta have somebody follow you around for about 3 years.
So for that popular one for Santa Fe, I was pressed for time. I had to do 2 workshops in Iowa and then travel to Indiana. And I was kind of missing the deadline, so I informed my sister and another weaver. She told me that she knew how to, but when she came, she didn't know how to do it the way I was doing it. So I had to teach her. So during the time that she held, after she left, I had to undo parts of it. So that took more time. So that's what I come across. And then I was trying to help my sister finish the weaving, but she gave me one part that I'm not pointing out. I mean, you guys saw such, you know, if you told her that, that's not how you were supposed to finish it. So I just left it. So it's those kind of things that it's real hard to delegate a job to somebody else, even though they draw it out for them, they still don't follow the drawing.
how did you end up making the round one?
Using a wagon wheel. You know, an old wagon wheel.
Yeah.
And cutting it in half this way, and then I built the tension for the top part, and then the bottom, secure the bottom, but I still had to keep the sides together. Kind of like boxing thing, but yet you have intention. So it's just all, I'm not a scientist, but I can figure things out. Yeah. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that it's out kind of gave you this new direction, and your friend is telling you which side is correct, but have you had any other feedback from the industry that they're responding?
Not really. I just had people like ASU Technology Magazine interviewed me, but they never really asked me about the chips themselves. They just see it as an art piece. I don't know. Like the photo that I used for the for the Kansas one, that one I asked the persons that commissioned this, okay, you get me the photos of the chip, because I didn't know where to find the computer chip design, so they provided that to me. And then after that, all the other ones I get through Ken and his friend that they connected me with him. Yeah, so if it's a company, I'll continue using the chicks that I got, those chicks, because they gave me permission to use it, and I know the person that took them, it's okay with them for me to use them. Yeah. Yes,
I'm still in, this before, my interest was seeing the, and, so, I came across, I did on the first, and there's a big discussion about the plan, and I got so curious about what would that be, you know, all the implications of, and, so I saw these various exposures also near animated. And so you brought it up very, I think, very colorfully in your talking about your history. I do have a question. You have a tremendous work role. You've also mentioned the so you have a lot of energy going on. And you also have deadlines to meet like crazy. So my question is, all of this, the demands now, are you able to get as much attention to the plan as you think you might have?
do I pay attention to my plan?
In a similar way, reminisce to your child.
Well, I think it was just part of me, but it's still the same technique, the same way that I prepare the yarn, that is still rooted in that. The only thing that's changed are the designs, the artist part of me, but I'm still grounded in who I am as a Navajo
In the
woman,
heart.
my plan, when I go home up to because I work up in Rochester, so I'm around Navajo kids all the time. So they know who I am and I share with them what I do. So my teaching to them is that do what you like. What can you do with what you like doing? Put your energy into that. Who knows, maybe you'll have a full-time job when you become an adult, and you'll still do what you love on the side. So that's the approach that I take even with the kids that I teach. Yeah. And a lot of those kids are the same kind as I am.
You always know that when upfront?
Yeah. So when we meet somebody like in another town or another, that's the first thing that we share is our plan. What tribe are you? If you're the same tribe as me, this is my clan. What is your clan? So then that relationship starts building. Oh, you might be my grandmother, my father. So that's the relationship that we have. And that keeps us in balance with who we are.
Just to say anything about these pieces that are.
Yeah. So what I brought is, you guys have a look at some of the pieces that are going to be part of the exhibition in Hassel College this summer. So this is a weaving that was made by my grandmother. And I acquired this probably in the early 80s. And it's all hand spun, carded from the sheep, the wool is from her flock. So it's got a lot of years that I've had it. And she calls this the baby kid. The baby is sheep, the baby sheep print. Because if you look at it here, just this part here, it's like the print of a sheep. Yeah. So that's what she called it. Well, my mom used to call that sheep print the baby kid. And then my sister goes, I asked her, I said, do you have an old photo of that rug that I bought from her? And she brought it, said, oh, you mean the baby cat? I said, yeah. My mom calls it that, so my grandmother also calls it the same thing. So I guess that's where she got it from. And then my grandmother lived close to 100. And this was a dress that she made for my sister. My sister gifted to me. So this is one of my grandmother's weaving, and she put the belt, boba belt, around it. So those were, but these are all aniline dyed. Then I went from there, and got this from my mother, and it's two gray hills. And I probably have had this since the late 70s or sometimes. It's pretty well worn. I just put it on the floor away from everything else. So that's that one. And then later in the 80s, probably mid 80s, got this one from her. And this one is stone pattern. The 4 rectangular shapes represent the 4 sacred mounds. Connected to the middle is land, and then these are the lightning rods, representing water and rain. So that's using Navajo Cherokee. And then we lost my mom about a year ago, February 21st. And this was one of the last pieces that she made. I haven't cleaned it. I'll clean it to get this up on Monday. So tomorrow. So anyway, my niece, Melissa Cody, she became a well-known artist too. So they're represented by a gallery out of New York. So the yarn that Melissa gave the yarn to my mom, and so my mom went back and did this pattern out of it before she had to. Because she couldn't spin anymore, and she didn't have any more sheep by then. So this one, you know the story too. And then this one was using the twill, double twill. My mom made it with the plants that were from the area that we lived in. Like I said, it's really easy to get yellow. And then the gold is a carrot, a plant that looks like a carrot that you can put on the ground in the sandy areas, and then so then it was my sister's bag. Got to get her makeup. And when my sister passed away, I undid it after the same time. So then, after that, I wanted to do one for myself. So my mom did a compliment, and I wrote this one. So this, but inside is pretty well bright still, not faded, but on the outside you can tell that it's not going to dry. It's not that. It's too much scrub. So these are going to be part of the exhibition. Then, in Navajo, they say that you're not supposed to weave your own dress. So I asked my mom, I said, why is it that you can't weave your own dress? Then she said, no, only if you're going to have a square dance, then you can't make your own. But it's fine if you do your own. So then I wrote this dress for myself.
Wait, she said
only if you're going to have a ceremony like a squaw dance, where you're being blessed, then you don't make your own dresses. If you're going to have a ceremony, then you wear one of these. But she said, that's the only time that you don't wear the dress for yourself. Somebody else does it for you. But any other time, if it's not for ceremony, you can. So that's when I made my own dress. So it's like 2 panels. And then I piece them together. As you can see, it's very small on me now. So rather than being stored, I gifted this to my nieces, my sister's daughters, granddaughters who are also my granddaughters. So I told them, I said, don't just store it, wear it, use it. So that's how I gave them this. Yes.
So that's a very heavy weight.
Yeah.
And so are people wearing long sleeves or a sweater underneath it? Or
No, you can wear a sweater. It's just gonna be like this.
Just with bare arms and bare legs. Okay. Thank you.
And wear the high moccasin boot, plus skin boot. And it looks really nice when you do that. So that one, and then this one is from my demo from my weaving class. If you ever decide to take it, this is what you'll make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be something like this.
So with the evenings that are back, if you're gonna just let them go, I mean, the night out.
Yeah,
Like if they're being used, I don't know. Yeah.
That'll be up to the crew. We haven't gone that far. All I know is I'm getting them there, the free seven. So we're still in the final stage. Well, she wanted to see, as far back as we could go with the pieces. I've made a lot of pieces and over time, I sold them to shops, individuals, but I never kept any record. So now it's like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would be needing old records. So I've been trying to go back through my photos and different places, and I found some sketches of the Pentium trip. Not the original photo I can't find, but I found some sketches of the borders that I've done, so those will be there. And my dye book, all the samples of yarn that I've ever dyed, I put into a binder. I have those, so save your, keep good records. That's what I learned.
So do you have a special way of saying this is my reading so that if someone picked it up, they'd say, oh, this is Marilou Schultz?
I can only recognize them.
You can, but
I can, yeah. Because one person got in touch with me through Facebook, and she said, "Is this you?" I said, "Yeah, that's me, and those are my readings, and those were from the late '70s. So those are in there. We bought two of them. One of them is a stone pattern, the other one is a stripe. So I never took photos of every piece that I've ever done. So it's hard to track unless we have people that are going to start coming out saying, "Oh, I think this is true."
well, just how would you think? You said,
Huh?
so.
No, I never clean them. I just shake them out or vacuum them out,
Okay.
and then I'll freeze my rugs just to make sure that the moths don't get to it. And I'll put them in not direct sunlight, but out in the front room where I have blinds, and then make sure there's some light, not direct sunlight on them. So they've been partly frozen since I work up north and I'm gone a lot from the house. I just was safe for me to store them in the freezer because I don't want them to get into it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you find time this weaving that takes so long when you're traveling, giving workshops? I don't know if you still teach in high school.
I still do. Okay. Well, the last 2 years has been really hectic, especially last summer. When I have deadlines, when I'm doing deadlines and I'm pressed for time, I have to account at extra months. So I have to kind of calculate. If I have this many months, I have to figure out how many inches can I weave in a day. Then I use that as to judge my time. But I remember when I was doing the one for Germany, that blue one, I got sick, which I wasn't planning to be sick. I got COVID, so I was down for 10 days. So then that cut away my time. And then towards the end, I was having nightmares. I couldn't even sleep, but I was too tired to even sit at my loom. So that's the stress that I get. When I'm pressed for time and I can't weave and my body can't weave, but my mind knows that I should be at my loom, but what do you do when you can't physically weave? But I was able to manage. My principal at my school and the CEO, they've been really supportive. So during the time that I was sick, they had me bring in my loom. When I went back to work, I could just stay after work and sit at my room. So that's the support that I got from my principal, that I could work at school once I got done. That way I'm not going home, driving somewhere, using the energy and then restarting. So that was a good thing that they did for me. So I did that and hauled my loom back and forth. Well, I just took it off the main loom, took it home and reattached it. So that's how I did. So that, in that way they helped me. So now with my project that's for Basel, my principal was pretty good about allowing me to say, okay, I have this project, I need to do it, and I don't want to get sick from, the stress. So can I work 3 days a week? And she said, yeah, what days are you wanting to work? Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I want to get off Thursday and Friday. Okay, let me check with who wants to food. I think the social studies teacher, except for me, bring somebody else to do the social studies. So that's how they were able to work with me for the month of January and February. Now March is here, and I still not halfway. So I haven't approached my principal again. I have to work the month of March every day, getting kids ready for the test. So my plan, the 1st of April, is culture again. Now I'm behind on my schedule. Can I take 3 weeks off after the test is over? Doesn't matter what, I'll still do the lesson plans. If you want me to do Zoom, I'll do Zoom from home. So that's going to be my approach when I get back for the 1st of March. But I think they'll support it because they know that this is important to me too. And I've already told them that I'm not coming back. And the CEO is upset. But he got over it. We talked to him about a week and a half later. And by then he had really digested. I was upset at the beginning, but it's okay. So, you come back whenever you want to. We'll take you back at any time. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you both. Yeah.
I've been asked about quantum, to see if I read with quantum.
Okay.
So I think that's the direction.
That's the next one.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking also about with the microscope, looking at the world, all the things at the cellular level, there are so many things so different from what we expected, but it sounds like you've got.
Yeah.
More runway than you- Well, usually much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, if you want to, okay. Yeah, we're gonna go on.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I think that'll be the one that do with the what? Yeah. We're trying to do those. Yeah. Yeah. I got it.